What's
What's
happening?
up?
Hey, what the hell just happened here, Jake? I'm out having dinner, eating tomato bar, and before you know it, some news drops, and it's hilarious because I went live after I got off work. I was collecting my check, and then I was giving some of my last second thoughts for the weekend, and I really did feel like it was going to happen tonight because, as anyone knows, a good news dump always happens on a Friday night.
Yeah,
Saturdays are
that's
a little
true.
dangerous. People are up and alert and ready to write an article. But at night, on a Friday night, a Labor Day weekend Friday night, all the Bears riders are out having dinner. They're out with their kids. The busy weekend. They're getting to the end. And that's when you make a drop in a news story like we have today, Jake. And, we wanted to get everybody into the chat before we really get rolling. And I'd want to dive deep into this, but I guess before we dive deep into it, I'd love to hear your initial thoughts to the news of the day. And that is, of course, as you can see at the top of our screen, Mitchell Trubisky is QB1 of the beloved Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Well, it's everything I expected. I expected Mitch to get the nod and to get the job because to me, it kind of not giving Mitch the opportunity to start out meant something different to me personally. I would say if you were to straight up say, "Hey, Mitch, you know what? We're going to go with Nick right off the bat." You're pretty much just telling him you're not the future, no matter what, and that's it. So
You'd be really out on him at that point.
yeah, I would. I always expected him to get the start, and I imagine he's got a very short leash, and I imagine that was communicated to Foles just the same. I mean, Foles is a professional. He's been in this situation before. You're going to say, look, man, be ready because if he slips up, I'm not going to hesitate to put you in the game. So
absolutely,
Foles is a professional. He understands that. I think it would, you'd be crushing Mitch's spirits in a way if you were just to not even give him the chance to start the year. And I think he did enough in camp to garner at least giving him a couple game shot. So
that's the key because I don't think Nagy was just basing it off his spirits. I think that's a tagline a lot of Mitch naysayers want to try to say is this is the rationalization of the move. And I don't necessarily see that way. He had to earn the job. I think people are poo-pooing the QB competition, but it is what it is. They didn't have a normal training camp. They didn't have a normal preseason to properly evaluate. So when they got to this point, I was always saying of that belief, if you're only going to have a 3-week camp, Mitch Trubisky would have to be the worst quarterback you have ever seen at a training camp to truly just give the job away and say, all right, we're done with you. Time to go to Foles. I know there's a lot of fans that are completely done with Trubisky. I get it. Some people aren't there.
Fair.
The organization is clearly not there. They wouldn't be splitting reps at camp if they weren't there with them. Now, then you try to read into the press clippings for 3 weeks. Oh, he said something negative. Oh, he says something kind of positive. Oh, Mitch steps out of bounds. It's that everyone's trying to pick through all the little stuff. But at the end of the day, if you really were listening, it sounds like he has made some progression. Does that mean he's going to go to the Super Bowl? No. Does that mean he's going to hold his job till week 4? No. It just means in this moment, at this time at camp against Nick Foles, he was outplaying him, even if it's at the slightest. Now, the question is that by default? Was he winning the job by default, or was he winning it because he actually was stepping up? Now, I have the Adam Schefter tweet if you want to share it, because there's some verbiage that's attached to it. And Adam Schefter's plugged in. He probably got this from Matt Nagy himself. We're all trying to get the news broke first. And the way Adam Schefter worded it when he broke the news tonight at 6:32 p.m. while we're all getting to our homes after work, and some of us are out to dinner eating pizza. Thank you very much, Matt Nagy. But again, go back to it if you don't mind. Because I was going to say, in a competitive battle, Bears are expected to name Mitchell Trubisky the starting quarterback. It's due to his progression, leadership, and overall performance throughout camp. Nick Foles has made the decision difficult for Matt Nagy, but the team feels strong about its quarterbacks. Now, like I said, we've been picking through Matt Nagy's quotes for the last 3 weeks, but you heard all those quotes from Matt Nagy in press conferences from the same words Adam Schefter just used. And so you chose not to believe what Matt Nagy was trying to say to you. That's your prerogative. But You got to pick through it because they're playing the smoke and shadow games. But at the end of the day, like I said, they were splitting reps down to the middle. So then I'm going off of, okay, who's playing better? Well, it did get to a point when we were like 10 days into these live practices where these guys are covering it. And of course, no fans can go, so we can't see it. But they were saying, okay, it sounds like Mitch, like the first 6 days, it sounded like it was Mitch 4-2. Now, everyone's talking about a battle of, best loser, toilet bowl champion. I don't know. I'm not there. All I know is who's winning each day. That's what a quarterback competition is. I don't understand why this is so new to Bears fans. We do this every 7 years in Chicago, sometimes less. So
sometimes less, most of the
yeah,
time.
I mean, come on. So, like I said, we're gonna dive real deep into it, but we have some audio that I'd like to share along because this really started to get heated here in its final moments of who was going to get the nod. And we've been arguing about this as Bears fans for, longer than 6 months, pretty much since the Chargers missed field goal. We have been arguing about the direction of this team. And I just wanted to share this audio with our listeners and let people file in to hear this because, like I said, I feel like it's prescient. You hear Matt Nagy's, kind of thoughts with everything going on with the quarterback competition in camp. And then, of course, you get to hear me get into a little bit of a debate. In little bit is putting it mildly. A pretty heated debate. We had 2 in a row yesterday and the day before between me, my great friends, Tom Waddle, Mark Silverman, Adam Abdallah, and then the new addition to the Waddle and Sylvie show, Christopher Bleck. They were on the other side of this argument. And that's fine. I respect it. But it felt like nobody wanted to respect what I was trying to say and just, kind of push it off as fanboy delusion, which I resent. I have a football opinion to this. This isn't fanboy. Yes, I am rooting for Mitch Trubisky. Yes, I got the jersey hanging behind me. It's signed too. Good kid. Signed it for me. Nice dude. Would sign for everybody at camp. I miss Bourbonnais to death. And yeah, I root for the kid. But that had nothing to do with the rationalization of, like I said, when the missed kick in the Chargers game happened, it's, okay, what are we going to do next year? Are we just going to completely move on from everybody? If that was what they were going to do, then fire everybody. Ryan Pace brought this guy here. Matt Nagy didn't get the job done. He's getting, if that's how you want to look at it, just wipe the slate clean, bring in a new GM, head coach, quarterback. Or you go into this last year and see if these guys can save and recommit and get back to what they were in 2018, unless you don't believe in that. Now, the organization clearly is saying, we're giving them one last shot. Fans weren't going to give that to Mitch Trubisky. But as I said, my whole point to this whole thing wasn't about, obviously I'm rooting for Mitch, but the thing is, I still felt for football reasoning, he needed to be the guy we gave the first look at because, I don't feel he's as big a bust as everyone's making him out to be. 1, 2, I felt like, if we give him the first shot, as you just pointed out, you do have a guy that you can trust to come behind him. There's little risk to letting him come out in the first, unless you miss the playoffs by a game. If Mitch comes out and doesn't play well, and then they miss the playoffs by a game, everyone's going to be wringing their fists. But I'm sorry, as a fan, I'm happy they're willing to take that risk because it's the guy we spent a second round pick on. He's had moments where you can argue that he can be a good quarterback in this league. If he just shows some consistency, builds up some confidence, and the whole spiel, we know what he needs to do. I'm not saying he's done it. 2018 was an exciting year, and I thought the arrow was pointing up. I said the Bears were going to be good, and they were. In 2019, I said the Bears were going to be good, and I was wrong. I don't know what the Bears are going to be this year. I haven't been to training camp. I haven't seen these guys. I don't know what any of these dudes look like in a Bears uniform. I can't wait to see what they look like next Sunday. But it's uneasy feeling. We don't know. They could be garbage. They could be great. It's football. That's what's exciting about it. Each Sunday, they're going to have a chance to win. You know that with this defense. So, hey, I'm glad Mitch is getting the nod. But as I said, I wanted to set up this audio, now that the listeners are somewhat filing in. And please – share your comments along, and we'll put them up on the screen. And if you got any questions, we'd love to answer them too. But again, I had a great conversation with Tom Waddle, Mark Silverman, and Adam Abdallah yesterday, and I really think it hit home what we were talking about and kind of where this all led and kind of Matt Nagy's thought process. So I thought we'd play it along for you guys.
The starting quarterback from your locker room?
I don't, and I know just like a lot of things in this life, we all have our own. I'll express it in different ways, and I understand that you're 100% not going to satisfy everybody. That's not going to happen, but that's why they go ahead and they put me in a role to make decisions. And myself, I put others in roles to help me make decisions. So it's the same thing. It's about trust, and then the conversations that go on with the players involved in a decision, and then the team when they find out. To me, the first people that need to find out are the quarterbacks, and that'll be a discussion that I have with them. And they're going to always get me shooting straight from the hip. And when we do that, or when I do that, then we'll go ahead with the next chain of command on how we do that. And I just know that the team believes in both of these guys. And so whoever it is, I'm not concerned at all about that from the team aspect.
All right, there you go. There's Matt Nagy today. Maybe the next
Who was that? I was actually looking at trying to chase a bet that I have on the Cubs and Pirates game. Who was that?
That was Matt Nagy, your head coach at the Chicago Bears.
Right, I'm sorry.
The team that you played for, proudly.
Yeah. No, I know. I just didn't know. I caught it late. I had other things going on.
Brax wants to weigh in after yesterday's not so nice conversation. If we call it a conversation?
It was fine by me.
Brax, you're on ESPN 1000.
We are all good. I want to preface this before we get into the yelling that I love you guys. That's obvious. We got to get that out of the way. We're getting our football emotions in there. But I will adhere to the Abdallah ban for tomorrow, but I had to call in today. You guys are thrashing me in the first 30 minutes of your amazing show that I'm so grateful to come on when you guys let me on. Now, when Abdallah is sitting here saying, I'm not going to say anything when Foles gets the job, win or if Foles, get out of here. Everyone's going to come at Abdallah or Cap and I and anybody else that defended Trubisky or however you want to phrase it in the same way that I told you so. They're going to come out either way. That's football talk. I'm ready for it either way. I don't care, but don't give me this holier than thou. I'm not going to say anything stuff because we all know it's coming out. Now, the other part of this is, Abdallah says, hey, I don't really care who the quarterback is. I'll root for anybody. I've heard that from Waddle. I've heard that from all you guys. But in the same breath, Abdallah's like, but I know that Mitch isn't the guy because I know football. Well, I'm sorry, Abdallah. That's not good enough for me. I personally don't agree. You want to talk about in football? I've followed this team a lot, probably a lot, in my opinion, a lot closer than you have the last years, and I do have an opinion on it that doesn't compare to yours. I'm sorry. You don't like what you're hearing. It's not that this isn't a fanboy thing. You just don't like what you're hearing here. I've always said, let's get Mitch to the first shot. So be it. Waddle's so done with the conversation that he won't even look at the quarterback competition going on. He's saying, well, the decision was made before they even got to camp or when they first got there. That's baloney. Then why, like the caller that called in before Weeder came on, so eloquent to point out, why is Mitch still on the team then? Why are we splitting reps with Mitch Trubisky if Nick Foles is just going to get the keys anyway? That's a big waste of time. You guys make fun of all the rationalization Mitch truthers try to make, but you're sitting here saying we're splitting reps at camp right now when we have a limited camp. We're going to split reps just to appease Ryan Pace? I don't think so, guys. They are in the same room every day talking about this. They are evaluating this, whether you like it or not, or whether it is incompetent or not. Now, like I said, we can agree to disagree all day, and finally we're going to come to a resolution on who the quarterback is going to be week one, but this is going to go on all year, ladies and gentlemen. If it's Mitch, we're going to be looking at every throw he makes, and, Foles, obviously, it's more about the health concern. I'm going to be all in for whoever the quarterback is. Everybody needs to stop prefacing that they're a real fan if they root for. Get out of here. We're all Bears fans. Meet me at a Bears game any day and find out how big of a fan I am. When I talk about getting cracked, I was cracked an hour and a half ago when you guys were ripping me to shreds. I had to call and defend myself a little bit.
And we need to do this Bears beauty pageant where we name the Bears' biggest fan and we can all compare Staley's.
No,
whose Staley is bigger? That's what you're doing. I'm the bigger fan than Abdallah. I hate when people do that.
Would you play the over 9.5 right now? They're going into the top of the eighth.
I might.
There's 8 total runs. I think so. Because, look, this bullpen's crap.
See? You guys don't want to talk about it. You guys spent all the last week talking about how Mitch stepped out of bounds. You spent 4 hours giggling about that. But you won't talk about the rest of this competition because it doesn't fit what you guys
They
are
were
talking
both
about.
average. I'm with you. I'll talk about this
Saturday
with you.
practice last week was the biggest practice of all of them. And from the report, Mitch outplayed him. You guys had 7 reporters on last week. That was 4 versus 3 that Mitch was going to be the starter, and they all had different rationalization as to why.
Most of them said Foles was winning. Most of them said Foles was winning, but they all
had Mitch
right.
as the starter.
You're right about
Which doesn't make any sense at all.
What we think is a moot point. What they're going to do is what we're arguing about here.
All right, Brad, you made some good points today.
I love you guys, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
I've never. Oh yeah, call it on Monday, please.
I'll call it.
Yeah, call it on Monday.
The starter.
Labor Day. None of us will be.
There you go, Braggs. Thanks. It's okay.
That was a good run, though.
You know, wait. Hey,
That was a good run, Sylvie.
I would have given a left one for some
Hey,
breaking NBA.
I like Black giving me
That was
giving me
That was a
props.
good stretch there.
That's
that was pretty good
surprising.
from Braggs.
Black very rarely
I've
gives me
heard it
props.
all.
We
That's
should.
why
Hey,
I don't.
we-
I mean,
we should have a million Braggs listening to this show. You know
Thank
what I
you,
mean?
Sylvie.
Like, who care about their team?
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
I
wrong with
kinda
that.
thought it was one of those.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
I hadn't
Nothing
listened. I hadn't listened to your audio before, but man, you really get emotional about this. You really go
I
in
am
on these
fired
guys.
up. He still isn't hearing me. When you listen back to the audio, Sylvie goes, "Oh, you're trying to do the fanboy thing. Oh, who's the bigger fan?" No, I'm not. Adam Abdallah was saying in the first hour of their show yesterday, "Well, I'm going to root for whoever's the quarterback because I just want what's best." And then in the same breath, he was like, "But I watched the last 3 years and I know football and Mitch ain't it." Well, I'm sorry. I respect Adam Abdallah. He covers football. He's on ESPN 1000, does all these shows, talks football every week, and entertains me all the time. But he's not the end all be all statement. Just because he doesn't think Mitch is the guy, is he at camp? Oh, I'm done with Mitch, so we're all done with Mitch. You're not at camp. You don't know. And I'm sitting here saying, well, hey, I've been up close and personal. I've been going to each open practice the last 3 years. I'm standing at the games. I'm watching the team just like everybody else. If he knows football, then so do I. Why is my opinion dismissed as fanboy delusion, but he's realistic? And the Wiederers of the world or whoever, Wiederer is realistic because he's looking at it from this, people want to say negative point of view, but it's not. It's just trying to, make sure you're not getting, it's not a negative point of view or a positive point of view. It's just different points of views. Cap and me and David Kaplan are fanboys because we, God forbid, suggest that Mitch should be the starter week 1. And then it turns into this convoluted conversation of, I'm like in love with Mitch and like I said to you the other day, go to a game with me and watch me root for Tanner Gentry just as hard as I root for Mitch Trubisky. This has nothing to do with my love for Mitch Trubisky. We're all Bears fans first. No crap. I root for the entire team. While every Bears fan was too busy dogging Josh Bellamy after every mistake he made, me and Josh Bellamy were exchanging Snapchats and saying, "Hey, keep it up, man. Bear down." Does that make me a better fan than the negative ones? No, but I like to root for guys. Did anybody make fun of me for my love for Josh Bellamy? He is the head of the Club Dub party in 2018, and all of a sudden everybody that wanted to trash Josh Bellamy all become Josh Bellamy fans. I'm not calling it bandwagon, but you say whatever you want, but that's not how I am. I like to root for guys. It is what it is. You can fan however you want to fan. You want to be a cynic. You want to break down the numbers. You want to do it however you want. Do it however you want to fan. But me personally, this is how I fan. It doesn't mean that I'm biased. I can't look at things with an objectionable point of view or football reasoning. No, I never played the game, but I've been following this team my whole life. I've been going to camp every year until this year for the last 20 years, and I do know this team a little bit. And I do sometimes can have a gut feeling about a thing or two. And when it comes to this whole quarterback competition, you could see it. You could see that they were giving Mitch an opportunity to win the job. Then you had to pick through how he was doing at camp. That's really hard when you're not there. So you have to pick through the reporters. And me and Bleck one time, we got into it on Twitter, and he was like, well, Jeff Dickerson said he's done terrible at camp. And then I pull it up an audio clip where Adam Johns from The Athletic says This is the best day of training camp I have ever seen from Mitchell Trubisky. And the entire Bears beat reporting crew laughed at Adam Johns for even mentioning it. And some were suggesting he put it out as a puff piece to get clicks. Sorry, guys, that's his opinion, whether you like it or not. And that's what this is all about. If you don't like what you're hearing, you won't retain the information. And if you do like it, then you'll retweet it. I can play the game too. Every time there's a pro Mitch tweet, I'll retweet it. And if there's a Mitch, I used to go to camp a couple years ago and put up video. You think I put up the interceptions? No, I didn't. So yeah, call me a hype man. I don't really care. I'm not a reporter. I'm a fan. This show is Brags in the Stands. We're fans in the stands. We're not reporters. I do have an opinion, but hey, this is what it's all about. This is how I'm a Bears fan, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to be a Bears fan however you'd like to be, but this isn't some fanboy delusion going on. Mitch Trubisky is your starting quarterback, and for everybody that said, I'm going to root for whoever the quarterback is, time to see if that's what you're going to be. Because I was always going to root for both. I ain't got no dog in the fight against Nick Foles. I've never seen him in a Bears uniform, so I'm not going to sit here and trash him. I tried to point out last night to some people that you are allowed to not agree with the decision. If there's people that are done with Mitch Trubisky, you don't have to turn tail today just because they announced him the starter. Stand up for your conviction. I did it with Mike Glennon. They named him the starter over Mitch Trubisky 2 years ago in 2017. He did not deserve it in the slightest. I went to every single practice, went to the preseason games, and Mitch outplayed him every single snap. It was embarrassing. Embarrassing. You want to talk about the beat writers and how well they nailed 2019? 2017, it was like nobody even wanted to talk about how Mike Glennon didn't deserve to be out there. The conversation should have been, should Mitch be the week one quarterback one? Should we just put it all in right now or give him a whole year off? You know, giving a guy a whole year off in this day and age is risky business. You've seen it work out for teams like the Green Bay Packers, but you know, we're looking for our first quarterback. You got to know. So, you know, is Mitch it? Is he not? We don't know. But that's why we got to find out. We know what 10-year vet Foles is. So, you know, you're right. Short leash Mitch this year. This isn't 2019 where we're talking Super Bears, Super Bowl from week one, 100th year anniversary. This is the 2020 Bears where everything's a disaster in 2020. We're all making sure we're not going to get disappointed here. We're all just holding our breath to make sure we get a football season, let alone a successful one. Yeah. So, yeah, give Mitch a short leash. He doesn't play well. You know, it would depend on how bad, but you know, first couple games, they got the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants, very winnable games. Time to win those games. Mitch, you got your tight ends now. No more saying we have no tight ends. They've got two, apparently. Haven't seen them yet, but apparently they're pretty good. Got some help additions in the wide receiver room. The biggest concern right now is the running game, but I don't care. Other teams got other problems. Other teams have obstacles they have to overcome. So, yeah. Time to start put up or shut up for not just Mitch Trubisky, for Matt Nagy, for Ryan Pace, for Tariq Cohen, for Anthony Miller, for Eddie Jackson. These guys started something in 2018 and they got to finish it right now. Or, you know, wipe the slate clean. You can do one or the other. I'm not a half measures type of guy, Jake. It's either one way or the other. That's how I am, you know. But who knows? I've been ranting for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts here because, you know, I might pass out from the screen.
I'd say you might. I mean, hell, that was such a whirlwind. I don't even know what to think.
There's so much. There's layers to this. It's like an onion.
Well, honestly, what did we really expect for this year? They had no picks. So it's not like they could have gone out and really drafted a quarterback in this year's draft. They could have flirted with Cam Newton. They didn't do it. They picked up Nick Foles. When you pick up Nick Foles, you understand, you know, this is two quarterbacks that are going to battle it out in camp. That's all you can do when you don't have any picks. You don't have any money to do anything with. So
you have only 3 weeks to do it. You know?
I mean, the thing about it is they still gave up a pick for Nick and they picked up his contract. I thought Jacksonville would eat a little bit of his contract in that trade situation, but they didn't. So that made, you know, raise some eyebrows and made people think, okay, maybe he is going to get this job.
When they made that move, it was easy to understand it if you just look through the lens of Matt Nagy and not what your own personal bias against Mitch is. He's sitting there going, this is COVID-19 offseason. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't even know if there's going to be a season. I know if I don't do well this season, I could lose my job. So I got to bring in someone I can trust, whether that be Alex Smith or Nick Foles. Take your pick. People said Alex wasn't going to play when I suggested Alex Smith, and now he's playing. Nick Foles. Yeah, you had to overpay for him. It's a shame that he couldn't, play a better poker game. And we all know Ryan Pace doesn't have the greatest poker face when it comes to making trades. But in this kind of an offseason where your options are limited, people wanted him to get Cam Newton. Cam Newton just won the starting job in New England. God bless him. But I don't know if he had been able to acclimate himself here. It's a huge risk for Matt Nagy if you're looking at through his lens, because, like I said, his job's on the line. So you bring in someone you can trust. But you don't just give up on the guy you've been working on. For some, that's what they want him to do. But that's not a winning mentality. The winning mentality is to coach him up. He sat there and watched last year and knew that they had no tight ends. I heard Tom Waddle today. I love Tom Waddle. He's one of the most admired Chicago Bears wide receiver players that has ever played for Chicago Bears. Put his heart and soul on the line. But I heard him today talking about, he says, he knows, or, he insinuates that, Mitch isn't the guy, which I respect. But in the same breath, it's like I hear him today talking about, well, this system that the Bears play in is a 2 tight end system, and they haven't been able to do that. And now they've got 2 guys that are able to do that. They didn't just have 2 tight ends last year. They had no tight ends last year. So how do you expect them to run a system that you say is completely predicated around tight ends, 2 tight ends, and we have 0? Then you add in the fact that the offensive line is a mess, and we could go on and on and on and all day. But those components factor in to all the chaos that we saw last year. They still managed to go 8-8. And I believe Mitch Trubisky was 8-7 in those starts. They could have easily won 4 games last year, as pitiful as they were, or they could have lucked their way into 10 games if Eddie Pinheiro doesn't miss a kick against the Chargers and they sack up a little bit against the Rams on Monday Night Football. The margin of error is so small in football. And, I heard today the Vegas odds with Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, the over-under for win-losses didn't change no matter who the quarterback was. So, why wouldn't you make sure the younger guy has the higher ceiling? All this, stuff when you start to, it sounds like rationalization, but it's like, that's just what makes sense. Give this kid a shot. You know who Nick Foles is. And if it's over, it's over. No one's going to argue it anymore. If we go into this year, there'd have to be real chaos everywhere else for the quarterback to still be getting a pass. I'm not going to be giving him a pass. I want him to step up. This is the put up or shut up year. I'm the Mr. Hype Man. Adam Abdallah loves to call me the propaganda. I am the propaganda. But this year, I've been trying to do as best as I can not to hype this team up, because it should be no hype, just win. Last year was all about. You
don't know what they are.
Yeah. Last year was all about Super Bowl, Super Bears, Super Bowl. Well, guess what? The Chiefs won it. We were sitting at home. This year, we know as Chicago fans, don't hype your team up. It's the worst thing you can do, because we always set ourselves up for failure when we do that. Very rarely can a team live up to the hype in this city, and we should have all seen it coming last year, but we didn't, because we love the gravy. We love the Kool-Aid. We need it. It's our drug of choice.
How long? It's been so long since we've had a quality Bears team, so everyone's going to be pumped for it.
It's as exciting as any team me and you have ever gotten to watch. Where would you rank the 2018 team in your lifetime as a Bears fan?
Of teams, maybe in the top 3 easily, I would say.
A lot of fun. Play the video of Mitch throwing the tutty in 2018 against the Detroit Lions, who we play in 2 weeks, and see how exciting it used to be.
Let's see if they're not even labeled.
The right one.
There we go.
Beautiful thing. Hopefully we see more of that week 1.
Yeah, I'm not a huge believer in Mitch. I'm really intrigued to see what he does after working with an offseason coach, having a quality coaching staff with DeFilippo and Laser and getting some of these
Jeff
guys in here. That's really exciting.
Jeff Christensen, the quarterback coach, working on his fundamentals, his footworks, his hips, and people joke, oh, well, why wasn't he doing that before? Guess who worked with Jeff Christensen the year before? Who has worked with Jeff Christensen in the past? Patrick Mahomes. So that's where Mitch went. So you can, poo-poo or condescend the fact that Mitch is going out there trying to better himself in his fourth year, and it's taken him this long. But other guys in this league go to see him too. You're right, Jeff Christensen, and then as you said, John DeFilippo, a guy that could have been the Bears head coach a couple of years ago, got down to the finalists to win the job. These are guys that are absolutely going to help, and a Nick Foles.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nagy, I mean, even Nagy having some of these guys along with him is a really good thing, because I think he needs some guys to keep him in check sometimes and help him along with some of his decisions. And so I'm excited for the new staff. I'm excited to see what Mitch can do, but I understand people being hesitant with him, because there's plenty of times last year, especially towards the end of the year, the Chargers game was on Mitch in a lot of ways too, with his costly turnovers. And there's plenty of times when you and I talked about it, and I said, okay, well, Mitch had a down game last week. This is when he should step up. And then he didn't. And then we said, okay, well, here's the reason why the whole game got screwed up. Next week is when he should be able to turn it on and prove who he is. And he didn't do it then either. So
we were trying to take moments last year and say, okay, here it is. Do it now. The problem was the team had so many flaws, including the quarterbacks,
including the head coach,
consistency, but it was everything else. And you can only have so many flaws you can overcome. Yes, every team in the NFL has flaws, but when you have as many flaws as the Bears had last year, especially on offense, then you combine that with the injury to Akeem Hicks, and before you know it, you're an 8-8 team. That's how it happens. Now, you can't hope for injury luck and everything. You got to overcome that stuff. Absolutely. But like I said, you can only overcome so much. Not every team makes the playoffs. Not every team gets to win the Super Bowl. This is how it works. You either get those things, those bounces that fall your way, or you don't. We're not Boston. Boston gets a championship every other year. Must be nice. But normal cities and normal teams, they get like one shot a decade, right? That's how how it feels. At least it's depressing. But, I keep coming back to it. But
that's why everyone will hate Cody Parkey infinitely in this city, because that was a major chance right there to get in.
Absolutely.
And it was stolen.
Look at the Cubs. I'm a huge Cub fan. 2015, 2016, they win the World Series. They won it by a hair. And at the time, we thought we were going to ring off 3 or 4. Guess what? This year might be the last year we see half of that nucleus in the head, and the manager, Joe Madden, is gone. He's already on another team. It changes fast. So, you only get one chance. And like I said, the Cubs, they barely got it too. So you need a lot of luck. Nick Foles, you talk about, hey, he should have got it because he's a Super Bowl MVP and you know what he is in the clutch. Look at how he got that Super Bowl MVP. There are a lot of good fortune that fell into the Eagles' lap for all that to happen. There are a lot of Eagles fans that were doubting Nick Foles when Carson Wentz went down in an MVP season and he came in and won them the Super Bowl. You should feel good that Nick Foles is on your team, because Mitch Trubisky, just as much as Nick Foles hasn't finished a year healthy, Mitch Trubisky hasn't either. Of all the, pros and cons you want to go through with Mitch, one of them is that he's gotten banged up 2 years in a row, both at pivotal moments. There's no good time for an injury, but 2 years ago when they're rolling in 2018, he gets hurt against the Vikings when Harrison Smith takes his little shot on him when Mitch is sliding. That affected the way they finished their season. They were really building momentum on offense. That was a fact. And that all got derailed from an injury and then inconsistency. But, yeah, at the end of the year, I thought Mitch started to pick up his play. And then we all know what happened in the playoff game. We don't need to go over it. But then in 2019, same thing. Bears get off to a struggle-some start, but they get to 3-1. Mitch plays well against the Redskins, throws some touchdowns, builds up some confidence. They come back home against the Vikings, and he gets hurt on the 4th play of the game. And, here we go again. And he comes back 29 days later to the Bears playing against the Saints, and this is 2 weeks removed from them getting dismantled in London and embarrassed. You heard Matt Nagy talk about that was a pinpoint moment for him as a coach to start holding his team more accountable, that the team started asking him to hold them more accountable from the London game. It took him all the way to that moment to start truly holding all these people feet to the fire. Matt Nagy's a player's coach. He's trying to learn how to be that Lovie Smith type player's coach where you're the stern fist, but also the guy they come to. You got to be both. You can't just – and when Cody Parkey doinks it 4 times off the post against the Lions in that same game where you saw that touchdown pass we just showed, well, he came out that game saying, well, we believe in Cody and we're going to stick with him. And he doesn't just do this for Mitch, ladies and gentlemen. He does it for all. He's a believer. He likes to believe in his guys. He coaches them. So he likes to think he can get them to do what he's trying to, will them to do. And then unfortunately you get burned and a double doink goes off the post. So, is the double doink coming from Mitch Trubisky? We don't know. But, I don't know how they completely came to the conclusion to start him this year. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. I'm not in that room, but I am glad. I will say it. If you can call me biased, whatever you want, not a real fan of the team or however you want to phrase fanboy, delusion, ball washer, whatever. But I am happy he's getting first shot. I want to see him play well, get it out, and start slinging again, build that confidence up. You've got teams that are beatable to start your year. I don't know what they look like either. I haven't seen any of these teams either. So, we're all kind of getting ahead of ourselves, assuming that the Lions and Giants are still bad, but I'd take that over playing the Kansas City Chiefs week 1. So, sure. I want to see them win these games. And I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility to say 2-0 or 3-0. And that was with either starting quarterback. So I did think it was crucial, whoever was handed the keys, that because they get this apparent soft start to their schedule where they can build up some momentum, build up some confidence, and get going. That's how football works. It's like a train. It's got to get going, and then once it's going, you're like the 2018 Bears, and you're all about that swag, and that's what it turns into. But it's got to build up into that. So it's one step at a time. Step 1, win the job. Good for you, Mitch. Step 2, ball out and shut everybody up. And pull up the double birds at the end of the season in your post-game presser. That's what I want to see from
you. Want to take an "I told you so" like Chubbs is asking you to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. You knew the "I told you so's" were coming if it was Foles, and all these holier-than-thou Foles fans, or whatever you want to call them, because they're not apparently Foles fans. They're just Bears fans first and want what's best. But I'm going to trash Mitch Trubisky for 6 months, even though I want what's. It's fine. We don't have, Jake. There's just not enough snarky people on Twitter. We need a few more next year. This year I'll be a meatball. But next year, I'm going to start transitioning to snark, because snark really plays on Twitter. We ain't got enough snark.
You need more snark, for sure.
Yeah, we need more. So, and I always loved how people were like, if it's Foles, I'm not going to say nothing. Baloney. If Foles had been picked, my phone would be melting right now. So let's get serious. You know how many people have said, I told you so too, Chubbs? Nobody, because they know. They know. Should I? I don't know. I can't decide. Part of me wants to say I told you so to everybody that's browbeat me for 6 months. David Kaplan probably feels the same way too, but it's almost a little more fun to kind of sit back and watch him squirm. Some people are showing themselves by saying, oh, well, wait till Mitch sucks in week 2 or 3, acting as if I don't understand that's a real possibility. That's where we get into this. I'm not saying Mitch is going to light the world on fire. I just tried to tell you he was going to be the quarterback week 1, and y'all wanted to, piss and moan and cry and whine and throw hissy fits and tell me that I'm a fanboy, but I'm just trying to tell you what I see. And if you don't trust me, go ahead. Listen to the other guys. I don't really care, but I know what I believe, and I'm not just saying it for clicks, not just saying it for attention. I believe when I believe something, I'm going to say it. That's it. And sometimes, I can only take much when it comes to stuff. I stayed out of the quarterback conversation as much as I could in the meat of the offseason. But when we got to camp, I'm ready for this argument. You guys ain't gonna, the smart ones, the analytical ones, they like I said, they can make you look real dumb in a conversation because you're, try to look at things in a different way. But I'm just saying, it doesn't always have to be one way. You got to look at the full picture. You can't just be one-sided thinking when it comes to this stuff. And I'm not when it comes to Mitch. Everyone's so certain that I'm a Mitch fanboy, and if he doesn't do well these first 2 weeks, I'm going to keep making excuses for him. I'm not. So I don't understand how that means that I'm ride or die with Mitch. If I'm I'm telling you, if he's terrible the first 2 weeks, yank him. That's not ride or die, people. I want them to start the year. Sorry, sue me. If they miss the playoffs by one game, I will apologize if that's how it all shakes down. But, this is how I want to see it. Obviously, the organization sees it that way. And you should be excited. That's what everybody's saying, right? Well, I just want what's best. Well, if you read the Adam Schefter tweet, he said he stepped up, showed progression. We all know about the leadership. You don't even need to add that into the tweet, Schefter, because we've seen it. We know. It's almost gotten to a point that Mitch is such a good leader that it's like a cliche thing that he's made fun of about, which I think is a joke when you consider the last quarterback that was in this town that gets all sorts of love nowadays, and how quickly we forget that certain quarterback that shall stay unnamed here tonight, that same quarterback had no
we're going to talk about Cutler. Here's a comment right here that was talking about that exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Perry Lambright. I don't understand why Trubisky gets so much trash, but Cutler never did. At least Trubisky cares if we win or lose.
Because Cutler had the arm talent. Cutler had arm talent.
You nail it, Perry. And call it meatball. Yes, Cutler got by on his talent. That's why he made it in the league and was successful, had successful years. They almost won you can win a Super Bowl different ways. So you can have that punky QB, right? The 85 Bears had a quarterback that didn't listen to his head coach, and they won a Super Bowl that way. It was a long time ago, but Jay Cutler was, a different type, but they almost got there. They had a momentum rolling a couple times. And
2011.
Some injuries, they might have won a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, the thing that Jay Cutler lacked was leadership, was maturity. He was a jerk. I watched him at camp. It was not, that never impressed me. I'm above this. I never liked that. There was only a couple years where I felt like he was truly locked into what he was doing. And the Bears gave him 3 contracts. One was a 7-year deal. Now, he's a great player, and he had a lot to go up against, too, when you talk about O-line, offensive coordinators, and everything else in between. But, the 7-3 injury against the Chargers.
2011, yeah.
Tackling him, who would ever thought a thumb would put him out? In the NFC Championship, if he doesn't get hurt in that game, they beat the Packers, and then they play the Steelers and beat the Steelers.
Yeah, but they would have beat the Steelers. Remember that he had surgery, and he held the ball in his hand while they had he had surgery while he was holding a ball and all that stuff. Yeah,
that was the Tebow year, right? What a nightmare. And now we get to this point. You're right. I'm sitting here at
couldn't win a game.
And Jake will tell you, and my neighbor Adam was here the day we drafted Mitch Trubisky. I was furious. I didn't know who Mitchell.
We were pissed. We were on the phone. Yeah,
I wanted Jamal Adams. I didn't know nothing about. And then when they traded up, I go, well, they're getting Deshaun Watson. That's obvious because the national champion, the whole bit. We know the resume. It's a no-brainer. How do you not take a guy like that? If I'm the GM, we got Deshaun Watson right now. But he takes –
and that kind of –
I literally said anybody but the kid from North Carolina. And then my jaw dropped. But guess what? I went to camp, and I saw a guy that truly – he had talent. So that's first and foremost. So let's get that out of the way. But then as Perry Lambright brought up, the Cutler and the leadership thing, I saw just a complete difference from the quarterback we just had, who was good in his own way, but had flaws because of leadership. Now we got this new kid on the block, and he's being put as the third string quarterback behind Mark Sanchez and trash Mike Glennon. And he stayed straight. He stayed professional, and he beat them every day in practice. And then the coaches still didn't give him the job. And then he still stayed respectful even into the season. I'm sorry. I'm looking at all that stuff, and I was like, all right, I like this guy. I'm going to roll with him. I became a Mitch fan very quickly because of that. Sorry. If he was trash, I wouldn't – Mike Glennon, I've never rooted against a Bears player harder. So I'm not just all – I can be like I said, I can have an objectionable opinion, however you want to phrase it. But, so here we are. Mitch Trubisky, starting quarterback. We've been through it all offseason. We've argued about it ad nauseum. And now here we are a week away from our debut show, Jake.
That's right.
That was, we were going to announce it at 7:00. Like, hey, week from tonight, our great friend my good buddy, who I vehemently disagreed with on this one little topic of who should be the quarterback week 1, Tom Waddle,
Tommy
former
Waddle.
Chicago. Well, I shouldn't even say former Chicago Bear. When you're a Chicago Bear, you're a Chicago Bear for life, and especially one like Tom Waddle that laid his heart and soul out for this team in this city. Chicago Bear Tom Waddle joins the show Friday, September 11th, 7 p.m. Central next week, a week from tonight at this time. Me and Tommy, we're gonna put it all to bed. Well, I'm gonna put it to bed with him during the week. So by the time we get to Friday, we're going to be locked into the game. We might have a few jokes when it comes to the whole quarterback thing, but at that point, we'll have put the baby to rest. Thank God, by the way, we didn't get all the way into next Wednesday with this. But yep, that's the big news for tonight. You know, everybody coming in short notice. I was out eating dinner with some friends, and then the news dropped, and I'd be lying if a little smile to my face didn't come when the news hit. And I honestly was questioning it after the last couple days of the screaming matches we've had on ESPN 1000. I was starting to question myself because, yeah, I am emotionally invested in my teams. When you hear this passion, this is who I am. I am emotionally invested in my life, the way I lay brick, the way everything. This is who I am with everything, not just sports. So, you know, I do get fired up. So I'm sitting there like, is it my bias? Is it my fan? Is it my heart? Is it, because anybody can talk themselves into believing what they want to believe. That's human nature. But at the same time, I just kept going back to, no, I've watched this team. I've seen this coach these guys up front. I don't believe that Matt Nagy is done with Mitch Trubisky because I've seen him standing with him, coaching with him. I've seen it I've seen the way they've worked. I know when a coach is done with a player. That's not what I saw when I watched Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky interact. Do you see frustration? Hell yeah. There's a whole bunch of emotions you see, and then you see Matt Nagy spill all his emotions out in the press conferences and say crazy stuff half the time when things aren't working out. But I just didn't see a guy that was done with Mitch. I didn't. So when you started trying to predict what we're going to – because there's two things we've been arguing about all year, what they should do and what they will do. You know, and those are two separate conversations that sometimes can get, mixed. But what we think they should do is kind of a moot point, fun to argue about, which I'm totally willing to have that conversation with anybody. But then what they will do is what matters. So you got to have a prediction. And I had one, and it was Mitch Trubisky as quarterback 1. And there was a lot of people very upset by that and tried to throw the name calling into it, fanboy, delusional, meatballer, propaganda, and everything else, repetitive. I've heard it all. No.
I'm just surprised there was so much disdain for the idea of him winning that job, because there's only two options here. And most chances he was going to get the nod. I'm surprised that so many people just thought that was out of the question. Now, I understand people being wary of him getting the job because, like we talked about last time when we jumped on, I think people are generally afraid of him playing well and getting another contract. And that I understand that, because I think I would feel a little hesitant about giving Mitch another contract too, unless he throws for 5,000 yards and has a great interception to touchdown.
Off, and then they would franchise tag him. They would not give him a contract, because at this point, no matter how well he does, unless it's, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if it was Super Bowl MVP, that's a different discussion. But if he does well, he has to show it again, unless you want to become the Rams and give a guy a contract after one solid year and then it blow up in your face again. That's what people will compare it to. So in my opinion, the right move, if he does have a good year, which would be a great problem to have, would be to franchise tag him. And then you can draft a quarterback in whatever round you want. Because now if you're keeping Mitch, that means you've had a successful season. So do what the Eagles did and draft your quarterback incumbent or project. But, yeah, exactly. He's almost
right. That's what we're saying.
A couple years. Chris Sandlin, the Sandman, came over last Sunday with his beautiful wife, Heather. Appreciate you coming by. You're absolutely right. We don't, the bar isn't that high in Chicago to impress. And I'm so excited to see this play out, because if he can rise up, This is Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. You see the skyline at the bottom of the screen? Nobody loves an underdog story more than Chicago. So if we get Mitch Trubisky to get on the right track, all these people, I ain't going to be mad at you want to hop back on the bandwagon. In 2018, when I told everybody the Bears were going to be good and nobody listened to me back then, and then they were, I wasn't running around telling people they couldn't join the fun because they didn't call it. Nobody cares who calls anything. If I got it wrong, I could have cared less. I'll take my lumps if I get something wrong. I took my lumps with the L flag. You think I can't take my lumps with this Trubisky, nonsense? Come on now. But the greatest story would be if Mitch could rise up from this and show everybody who he truly is or who he thinks he is. And this city would totally get behind him 100%.
Like a phoenix from the ashes.
They would respect him for it 1,000%. Look at you, Darvish. I mean, we're going to baseball. Some people might not be baseball fans here, but you, Darvish, had a real tough go here in this city to start. And he might win the Cy Young in this crazy shortened season, playing lights out. And I was calling him you garbage to start the year. I was
wrong. How dare you say that?
How dare I? I'm a Cub fan. How could I say something disparagingly about a player on my team? Well, guess
He's
what?
a nice man.
We're fans. You can say him in your private. Just don't say it to their face. Because when we talk about hate towards players, it's one thing to be critical. You can even have your little snark, but I have seen fans at games be very harsh on this team. I love to go to the games and get down by the tunnel, watch them run out, watch them warm up. Last year, and this is a very true story, 1,000% true, I'm sitting there in the tunnel, and Mitch Trubisky's coming out, and a guy in a Carhartt jacket, maybe had a few too many, so, I try to be fair about it, but he literally said, "Hey, Mitch." Mitch he don't always look up, especially last year when he was having a tough go about it, but he knew. He heard him, and he looked, and the guy goes, "I hope you have a heart attack and die." He literally yelled that at him. Now, that's a bit much, and obviously he doesn't mean it, but to yell that at a player is insane. And, I know there's a few players on the team that won't miss those kind of fans when they're running out the tunnel. But, that's what you're up against in this city. You got fans that are extremely emotional about this. We've been through it with so many different quarterbacks, so many different bad quarterbacks, so many different flawed quarterbacks that we don't want to be fooled again. And he's getting the brunt end of that whole controversy, that whole life of torment that we've lived. And nothing would be better than to see him rise above all of that. You want to talk about, you think Club Dub was hyped? If this kid comes out and balls, this team, not just the city, this team will be just energized in a way that you won't even understand. Then we can start talking Super Bowls.
The locker room, they love him. The guys love him. And that's true. So everybody wants him to succeed. It's just, now's the time. If it ain't it, then you're out.
Yeah. This is it. This is the put up or shut up time. You guys wanted it to be last year because you're impatient. And hey, maybe I'm the wrong one. Maybe Nagy's the wrong one. Maybe he should stick with Foles. We don't know. But that's a moot point now. He's sticking with Mitch, and we're going to find out.
Well, if the Bears would have had some ammunition this year to do something, maybe they would have done something different, but they didn't. So in that regard, this is kind of the best of the situation that they have to give Mitch that chance to do something. And if he's not it, then you go to Nick, and what he's not the guy for next year. You don't give him any sort of contract. And that's it.
The playoffs in each conference. So you have an opportunity, if the Bears are a team that's on the edge like they were last year, as long as they make some minor improvements. They went 8-8 last year, so that Greg's dumb math in his head says that should mean they can get 9 or 10 wins. And if there's an extra team that make the playoffs in each conference, then that should be able to be enough to possibly get in the back door. I know, not a great battle cry.
Did that go into effect for this season?
Yeah. Extra team in each conference for this season, and then next year it's going to be a 17-game season. Those were both things that were approved by the league, but the only one that's being implemented this year is the extra team in each conference.
I wasn't sure that was this season. Okay.
100%.
That's cool. Okay.
It is. It opens the door for another team to have a shot, and anybody can win it once you get there. The Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles are case in point of that.
Right.
You know, they rolled they put up huge numbers against the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, but in their first round matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, they squeaked by. And they held a defensive stand in the last final moments in the red zone to hold Julio Jones from scoring, and they won, I believe, 15-12. Well, the Bears lost that 15-12 game when they were on their miracle run. And that's the opportunity. You got to seize it when you got it. So let's hope we can get back to that point where we have an opportunity. Maybe they can seize it. When you have a pass rush, like maybe this team could have potentially, anything can happen. Look at the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning was well beyond his time, and they won. They won a Super Bowl over the Carolina Panthers with a vaunted pass rush. We're going to miss Eddie Goldman. I believe the key to that pass rush is Akeem Hicks staying healthy, and it's great to see him back out at the practice field, or at least so the reports say.
Thursday,
let's hope he's ready to go here in a week. Same with Allen Robinson, but that pass rush can take you there. And then as Waddle has preached this offseason, all you got to be is average. Be average. That's all he was asking. And then we're hearing in the reports at camp that Mitch is average. He doesn't suck anymore, guys. And then we were mad about it. I'm kind of saying it tongue in cheek, but for real. Hey, he's improved. He's no longer crappy. He's just average. That's what we wanted, right? Well, no, we wanted Foles to be an all-pro. Well, I think people that were thinking we got an all-pro just because he makes $20+ million and he won a Super Bowl and was a Super Bowl MVP. That's not exactly the story of Nick Foles. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's had his ups and downs, and his most recent, journey was a down. 2 years ago was the last time he won a football game. The last time he won a football game in the NFL was the playoffs 2 years ago. If I tried to bring up the Bears playoffs, people are like, that was 2 years ago. Well, that was the last time Nick Foles won a game. So, his story is not, clear either. So, I don't know. Like I said, did Mitch win this job by default, or did he win it because he's stepping up? The press clippings and the pressers that we've heard from Matt Nagy, they lead me to believe he has shown improvement. Now, how far you can take that? Not that far. Are they tackling at camp? Has Mitch been sacked since last year? No. So we got to see this against live bullets. But that's why if they had given the job to Foles and said, you're done, Mitch, with him not looking terrible at camp, I thought that was unfair. He should be able to show against live bullets that he has shown the progression and is ready to step up. And if he's not, then get him out of the way. Nick Foles has just gotten here, right? So now here's an extra week for him to get acclimated, and he knows that at any moment, whether it's through production or injury, he could come in. So I know he's going to come in. I didn't have a worry that if Mitch was the backup, like I know you mentioned earlier, well, his soul would have been crushed. Yeah, I'm sure he would have been really upset. But I also know he's not stupid either. Anybody can get hurt. Don't be surprised one of these guys, I always said, don't be surprised whoever gets named the starter in the second quarter, they get dinged up just on some little thing. Don't get scared. I'm not predicting serious injury on anyone. I'm just saying this is how it goes in Chicago, people. Just watch in the second quarter. Mitch will be having a nice game to start. He'll throw a touchdown, and then in the second quarter, something will happen. His shoe will come off, and then they'll have to bring Foles in, and he'll throw a 60-yard touchdown pass, and then we'll all be arguing about who the quarterback should be. This is never going to end. Whether it's through injury or production. I saw in the chat earlier there'll be micromanaging every single throw Mitch takes. Absolutely. Hey, this is expectation levels being raised. Let's see him meet them. If not, hit the road, Jack. That's it.
Yeah, it's really how he reads a defense, how he makes those decisions in a live game is going to be the big thing. If he struggles in that area again, I don't think that Nagy's going to give him that leeway that he did because it's his ass on the line too. So he's got to win games, and if he feels like that's Foles, he's not going to hesitate to pull him.
Absolutely. Ron Rupp now bringing up that exact point. He was asking in the chat. He's a good friend of the show, or at least the previous and now the Brags in the Stand show. So we appreciate you coming in, Ron. He asks if Mitch had looked bad in the first half of any of the preseason games, do you think Matt Nagy would have made a change? Absolutely. Absolutely. He wanted to have a true competition. That was taken from him when this whole COVID-19 thing came. So now you got to make a decision a different way. And yeah, it probably was too rushed of a decision. Like I said, unless Mitch was the worst quarterback you've ever seen at camp, or Foles was this clear-cut, all-pro, future, Hall of Famer. He knows this system like he's blind, the back of his hand, like he can do it, no problem. No, they're even in talent level. So let him get a shot as long as he showed that he's, trying to make improvement. That's how it should play out, But if they had a preseason, Matt Nagy would have absolutely been able to make a more clear decision here.
It would have been great to have a preseason this year.
Yeah, we got screwed big time with that. We're probably the most affected team from it because of this quarterback situation. So you got to hope this is the right move. We don't know. Absolutely, we don't know. But, more than likely, you hate saying it, but more than likely you're going to see both quarterbacks in there. But it's nice to hear that the coaches think they've seen enough from Mitch to get the nod and let's get this momentum rolling. Let's get the train going. I'm excited for it. I'm an optimist, at fault sometimes. Maybe it's my Cub fan in me, but I just, I like to think positively.
Hey, whatever happens, it's good entertainment value. So it'll be fun to talk about.
Will you take this or will you go back to 3 months ago when we had no sports on TV? I'll take this all day long. I would have taken it if Nick Foles had been our quarterback. I've been all ready to get Nick. I would have bought a Nick Foles jersey. I don't care. I got no qualms against Nick Foles at all. If we need him to win the Super Bowl because Mitch gets dinged up or lack of play, whatever. I'm going to be all in on Nick Foles. But, I kind of want to see the quarterback that we've been working on the last few years. Maybe that's the wrong move. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just love Mitch because he took a picture with my kid. I don't know. We can pull that picture.
Multiple pictures with your kids, your family.
Yes.
He's on the refrigerator. He's everywhere.
Well, we've been taking everything off the refrigerator because
we're
above
your bed.
To move. Yes. So we got the. I believe I have the picture with my beautiful family. I think I sent it to you. There it is. Yeah, training camp 2018.
Look at Mitch's smile. He's really happy to see
you
guys.
What do you notice most?
Spend time with you.
What do you notice most about that? What's the thing that stands out to you in this picture? Like if you really dissect it.
That he's palming your daughter? I don't know.
Well, if you look, so you're right. You're on the right track because when you look at it. He's holding Jenny's hand. Like he thinks he's kind of Money Mitch thinks he's slick. We get in the picture. Hey, Mitch, Jenny asked. She was like, Mitch, do you mind taking a picture with our baby? He's so nice. He was like, absolutely. He thought it was funny. And then there he is, slipping that hand on my wife's hand. I see you, Mitch. I see you. I love you. I got your back. Mitch, but you better watch that hand, brother.
I think you're jealous.
Watch that hand.
You're jealous of Jenny making contact.
Jenny
with him
hasn't
like
watched that hand in 2 years. No,
good Lord.
We went a couple months prior to that, but right before we had Addison, Jenny was pregnant, and we were at the Bears draft party at Soldier Field, and Mitch made a surprise appearance and took some pictures with fans, little photo op thing, and she was pregnant. She was really pregnant at the time, and I go, Mitch, we're having a baby, and he goes, are you going to name it Mitch? And I go, it's a girl. He goes, name her Mitch. And, yeah, you got to love the guy. It was a funny joke, Yeah, I'm rooting for this dude. Those little
that was it. That explains everything right there. Yeah. Everything.
You think I'm going to go crap on the guy after? He's a great dude. That doesn't.
You think Jay Cutler would do that?
End all be all. Jay Cutler was a jerk at camp, but I still wanted him to win a Super Bowl for me.
Jay Cutler wouldn't even sign autographs for children.
For anybody. Jay Cutler would ride off on the golf cart and hide from everybody after every practice.
Yeah, he was Urlacher every
we're
time.
Here if we want to give credit to the good players that stood out for all those fans in Bourbonnais, all the loyal fans that used to all come pillage to Bourbonnais. Tens of thousands of fans come down there and watch them practice. And guys like Tommy Harris and Devin Hester and Mitch Trubisky, and there's a long list of players that would bust their ass for 2.5 hours out there on that practice field, fighting for their careers. Their jobs are on the line. A lot of them aren't making millions. A lot of them are just hoping they can stay on a roster. And a lot of those guys would stay out there after 2.5-hour practices in the 100-degree heat and appease thousands of fans by taking pictures and signing autographs and giving kids and adults a moment that they appreciate. And there was always something very special about Bourbonnais that I miss dearly, and that's definitely one of them. And, if you don't sign, fine. I don't hold it against you personally. There's a lot of fans that would go there that do. I don't. They got a job to do. They got to get to the film room. They got a job to win. They got another guy fighting for it. But you do appreciate the ones like Akeem Hicks, who would literally stand out there until everyone was gone. Him and Mitch Trubisky would do that. If you don't think, no, that has nothing to do with winning games. But if I can't appreciate that as a fan, then I'm not a fan, in my opinion.
From all that time in Canada, Akeem was in Canada. They made him a really nice guy because everybody's super nice there, and it translated.
Yeah, I love that stuff. You want to have good guys on your team. You don't want to have a bunch of jerks. Now, you can win with a bunch of jerks. I don't know how friendly the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s were with their crazy parties and everything. I don't know, but they won. So that's all that matters at the end of the day. Don't get it twisted here. But, and everybody has different experiences with everybody. You can have a negative experience with a certain player, and then Chubbs82 can sit there and say, Brian Urlacher signing for tons of kids. I know Brian's getting a lot of bad press for his political beliefs, but I've seen Brian sign for a lot of special needs kids and military veterans and special needs kids in particular at camp. Every year he'd bring out like couple hundred special needs kids, and he'd take care of them. That's cool stuff that you like to see. There's a lot of other players that do things like that too. So, I miss that stuff about Bourbonnais. But like I said, Mitch is one of those guys, takes a picture with my family. It was fun. You'd like to get behind a guy like that. And it was disappointing in 2019 to see it all fall apart. But we're going to find out this year. It's exciting. We get a football season, as you said. So
we get at least one game. So let's make the most of it.
Why don't we play a couple more touchdown highlight clips before we wrap this baby up? We were only going to be on for 20 minutes, which was probably the biggest.
I knew that wasn't going to happen.
That was probably the biggest joke. When you have 7 minutes,
you have to talk for 20 minutes.
The Waddle and Sylvie show. I don't really know how we condense it to 10 minutes.
There was a 25-minute period where I didn't even talk because you just went off. So I knew that. I knew 20 minutes wasn't going to happen.
Because I wanted to go live right away when it happened, but obviously we're all out. You're having dinner. I'm having dinner. And it's funny, when we were on our way back from Tomato Bar, this pizza joint out here in Northwest Indiana, The Region. It's a great pizza joint, by the way. And we were out there eating, and on the way back, you think I'm fired up on this show tonight. I was so fired up in the car, screaming at Kyle about, my conviction and my belief. It's not about being a better fan than anybody or anything like that. It's just I had conviction in what I thought was going to happen, and it did. The I told you so's, it almost goes without saying at this point, Chubbs, because we tried. We tried, and they just wouldn't do it. But I'm not going to bite my lip to those that think they know better, because I got some opinions too. But, yeah, it's funny to think. And like I said, when we were on our way back, if I had gone live in that car, there was some pretty epic things being yelled. But, yeah, I don't think I've felt this chesty about a player in this city since maybe Derrick Rose when he hit the game-winning 3 against the Cavs right at the end of the Derrick Rose era. So maybe that's ominous for what's happening here with Mitch. But when he hit that shot against the Cavs after years of knee injuries and years of torment by his very own fans, he was born and raised in Chicago, went to Simeon High School, went drafted number 1 by the Chicago Bulls, tore his knee at the peak of his career, and then became a running joke to most of the people in this city. They call him Mr. Glass. How pathetic those fans are. And for Derrick Rose to have multiple knee injuries and then rise up from that and hit a game-winning shot against the Cavs, and really just when he jumped into Joakim Noah's arms and you saw that face like, fuck you. And yeah, I swore, because that's what it was. That was the face Derrick Rose showed everybody, because he showed an entire city what they were wrong about. And, he's been able to salvage his career to this point, and now everybody shows him respect. And when he comes back to the UC, they chant MVP for him, as they should. But I love an underdog story. I love a guy that comes back from the ashes. So let's hope that Mitch can be that guy, and let's hope Mitch hits that game-winning shot and jumps into said player's arms with that same FU face that Derrick Rose once showed. I'm trying. I swore once. I don't want to get in trouble. If I swear too much,
I'll just leave if you keep it up.
The FCC might lock us down. But yeah, before we go, why don't we play a couple more
clip?
Highlights and get pumped up? There's some brags in the stands. Let's show some stand shots.
Girl.
Let's talk about respect.
Now I'm playing too many. That was a throw. That's a throw right there.
That's a dime ball,
ladies and gentlemen.
Back shoulder to Anthony Miller in the corner of the end zone. A great route and a great throw. Maybe not the best vantage point to really appreciate a throw like that, but that's the kind of stuff we need to see this year. We need to see Mitch Trubisky and Anthony Miller getting back on track to what they were in 2018, where they were getting some touchdowns. And you've heard Anthony Miller is having a standout camp. Matt Nagy even went out of his way to say Anthony Miller's having a standout camp. The last time
one of the best
camp was in 2018, and it all worked out in a really good way for both Mitch and Anthony in that season. So you want to see those kind of throws. And then, the other video, you want to see Mitch on the run a little more. I mean, goal line, red zone run, whatever. But in general, if you get out of the pocket, break the defense down, that's what we want to see. That's
what Foles doesn't give you. That's what you want from him.
And you might need it with uncertainty in your offensive line, especially if your run game isn't ready to go week one because of the whole David Montgomery. There's definitely elements that probably played into it that Mitch gives you some different advantages as long as he can be trusted in the pocket. We'll see. But he can definitely get out of the pocket. I saw Anthony Reid, a good family member of mine. Appreciate you joining the show. He pointed out earlier, he goes, Matt Nagy needs to run what he has on this team, and Phil Atoshin, Draft Dr. Phil, he's preached that to me for 2 years with Matt Nagy. To coach up the guys that you have on your team. Look at the Ravens and look at Harbaugh, the way he had one team with Joe Flacco and then completely evolved his coaching for Lamar Jackson, who's a running first quarterback. I'm not saying that's what Mitch is, but he came up with a game plan that was almost unstoppable last year at times. And that's how you are as a coach. You evolve to what you have to win games now. When Matt Nagy's sitting there saying, I didn't come here to run the eye, you do what you do. You got to do what's necessary to win the game.
Hated that comment.
Formation is part of the plan if it needs to be part of the plan. That's it.
Right.
Power run isn't. That's not old school. That's winning football. So
I hope he gains some humility after the way 2019 went.
Changes they made, and if you listen to what Matt Nagy's saying, they are going to try to run the ball here. Try is going to be the operative word. The whole offense, try is going to be the operative word.
It's really unfortunate what happened to David because he was looking real good, and a groin like that is something that could pop up throughout the season, even when he does get back. So I really, really hope. I thought they were going to make a move for somebody else in the room, but
it's infuriating. There's guys out there that are available that are worth a little bit of cash. You saw Leonard Fournette go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for $3.5 million. He's a solid running back. He may not fit your system, but $3.5 million, I'm sure you could have spared that. Didn't you save some money with Eddie Goldman, declining to play this year? I'm sure they can bring in a guy.
Well, I'm hoping that means something for David.
Spencer Ware is available. You just saw Adrian Peterson fall off on the board. I know some of these guys are, at the end of their rope or also rans. They've been on different teams. But guess what? You need a guy in there. You don't know what David Montgomery, when he's going to get healthy, and if this is an injury that could linger all season. So It really frustrates me that they, Nagy said the other day that they're comfortable with what they have. I
hope that means David's ready.
Cohen, but he needs a thumper in there to help, with that. And Cordero's more of what Tariq does. That's just my, caveman football logic there. So what? We're Ryan Nall's ready to bust out. I love Ryan Nall from some of his great training camp moments, but I'm not exactly sure that Ryan Nall is ready to be the bell cow running back for this team for the first 2 weeks if David Montgomery isn't ready to go. I hope so. This is the same game we play with the quarterback or anybody else. We can hope all we want, but I'm not exactly sure that Ryan Nall is going to be able to carry the load. So, Matt Nagy's definitely going to have to get tricky early on if they're not going to bring a guy in. And even if they did, how long would it take him to get acclimated to the playbook?
That's the thing. I'm hoping it just means David's not that far off. I don't expect him to play next week, but maybe he is. Maybe he does. I don't know.
They locked him in a hyperbaric chamber. We've seen crazier things. Terrell Owens broke his leg and played in the Super Bowl like 2 weeks later. I'd
love to see it. Not to see that he's playing injured, but I hope that he's in a good place, that maybe he has the potential, but I'm not sure. Tariq, I could see him, doing some damage. Last year he had a bit of a disappointing year. He's smaller than I am, so that's not very encouraging.
A little stronger, a little faster.
Well, that's
a little higher.
I don't know. I can do
two footballs while he's.
I can do backflips
backwards.
I'm pretty athletic, Greg. I don't know if you know this.
So next week, maybe we can see if you can do that for the show.
Do a backflip
and catch the
footballs.
So tune in next Friday, and we're gonna make Jake try this on video. That's what I love. Now we're on video, so we get to see each other. I'm in the hot box down in my garage. I shut the garage door so we wouldn't hear any cars coming by, but it's steamy down here, especially when I'm yelling
when you're blowing hot air out into the room with all your intensity.
I love this. This is what sports are all about. Debate. And guess who was right? Greg. I know it pisses you off, but guess what? You got to deal with it because you spent 6 months making fun of me for my opinion. So now that I'm right, you got to listen to me for at least 5 minutes. Now, if Mitch throws 4 picks, we can cue the Homer Simpson gif back into the bushes. But for now, I'm gonna have that one ready to go just in case. We'll get that one ready. We're gonna need it. Sure. Yeah. No, but hey, we want to thank everyone that tuned in tonight on our another impromptu Brags in the Stands test run. We won't call this one a test run because we're 2 in. But our official launch, these have been soft openings like a casino does. Our official launch to Brags in the Stands, my great friend Jake Hovanek and I are going to be rocking the Brags in the Stand mic for the first time officially next Friday night, 7 p.m. Central. Tom Waddle of the Chicago Bears coming on to give us his infinite wisdom when it comes to football knowledge. And I can't wait. I can't wait to learn something about someone other than the quarterback. We don't have to talk about the quarterback when he comes on. I'm sure there would be no better gift I could give Tom than to talk about everything but the quarterback. He is so done with that conversation that we have to be delicate with it because it's been a lot.
At that point, it's probably just going to be talking about you guys are going to get into it probably 4 times before he even gets on the air. So
no. All love on my end, of course, for the ESPN 1000 game. They've always been such a great support system to me and showing me love and allowing me to go on my rants. I mean, how long was that rant that it was on ESPN 1000? God bless Abdallah. He tried to ban me because I call too much, which is a problem, but it's training camp. I'm fired up. I can't help it. And they're making fun of me too. So I should be allowed to defend myself. It was actually kind of funny because when I called Abdallah, he was like, "No, you're not coming on. You're banned." And I made him, I go, no, I should be allowed to defend myself. You guys are ripping me to shreds. I'm sitting here working, listening to this. I should be allowed to defend myself. This is literally going on while they're doing the show. And he goes, no, you're done. Call back next week. And I was like, I was like, no,
Damn.
put it. I go,
Harsh.
put it. Yeah, he was being harsh with me. That's all right. Me and Abdallah, we have we're friends, but he's got to give it to me straight. He's producing a big time show here in Chicago, so I respect it. But I should be allowed to defend myself. So I go put it to a vote. And then he asked Bleck first. He goes, Bleck. I go, don't ask Bleck, because Bleck and him are as thick as thieves. And they like to spread. You talk about spreading propaganda. They love to spread propaganda about me. And Bleck actually said, put him on. I was shocked by that. Bleck's been surprising me the last couple of days, giving me a little bit of props here and there because, I know I agitate a little bit. But Bleck said yes. Then I go, ask Waddle and Sylvie. And they both said yes. So Abdallah got completely vetoed 3-1. But since I got through and they let me on for like 5 minutes rant, I decided to obey the rules of the Friday show, which were we weren't to discuss the quarterback once, which I didn't until this news broke. I had even on like across the board, I didn't tweet them or Twitch them or anything. And then the other rule was I couldn't call in. So I tried to obey everything. But then, of course, the Friday night news dump. Those sly devils over there at Hallis Hall.
You called it. You were expecting that last time we talked.
Yep. And I said it on Twitter Live a little bit earlier today. So kind of funny to see it. You knew it was either going to be today or tomorrow since they were going to meet with the media on Sunday.
Well, Nagy's talking on Sunday, so I thought at least it would be then.
That's the layout for the Bears this week. Sunday, they have a practice, and the media will be there. Monday and Tuesday, they're off. And then Wednesday, we get to hear from QB1. Guess who? Mitchell Trubisky. That's going to be hilarious. And then Thursday, Friday, getting through the walkthroughs and getting ready for the Detroit Lions. Friday night, 7 p.m., Tom Waddle coming on, Brags in the stands for the first ever episode. It's a beautiful thing. We've been putting a lot of hard work here in the backgrounds here to get it ready, and can't wait to show you a lot of fun stuff. We got a intro video to this show that's going to light your hair on fire. Going to be very proud of it. Can't wait to debut it. It's going to be going to start our show every week, set the tone for what you're seeing. And tonight, when you saw this passion and intensity and the true Chicago Bears passion that me and Jake have, we can talk. Me and Jake used to do this on the phone when nobody's listening for hours on end. So doing it on a podcast for an hour, that's nothing. That's a breeze. We can do this all day long. And I can't wait to experience more big moments here in this great sports town that we have and all the other sporting events that we're going to cover here on Brags in the Stand. So the first one, the big quarterback controversy to start it all off. Pretty fitting. It's exciting times. You got sports in the thick of it, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. You got MLB playoffs right down the corner, and NFL football season starting up a week from Sunday. Can you believe it? You even got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Texans kicking it off on Thursday night. So when we come back to you here on Friday, we're going to have a game to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of fun stuff coming down the pike, even more stuff, down the road that's going to be just, stuff I really think the viewers here are going to enjoy.
We'll be talking fantasy. We'll be picking games. We'll have the most up-to-date injury reports and all the news by Friday night. So tune in. We'll be rocking it.
Absolutely. And as we've said before, we're always going to bring on, the analysts that can keep you informed, unless you want to listen to me rant. And I'm more than happy to do that. As you can see, Jake's like, oh dear God, please don't.
I'm just going to start hard cutting. I'm just saying, no.
I know it's hard. It's a delicate balance because the rants are, that's what people want, the sports passion. But then what happens is we go off the rails. So here we are. Hour 25, I think, is the great cutoff mark. So I'm going to make sure to stop talking at that point. So again, for all the people that hung out tonight, Bear Truth 9, my representation, Jake, you'll get to know him well. I appreciate you staying with us. Chubbs 82, I got to give this guy a huge shout out because Chubbs has been in my Mitchell Trubisky corner the entire way. We've had some guys, B. Schultz, Malcolm Riley. There's going to be a bunch of names I'm forgetting from my Bears Twitter world that we live in. But You know who you are, ladies and gentlemen, the ones that especially interact with me on a daily
You know who
basis.
you are.
Mitchell Galloway, all you guys, and for everybody that tuned in tonight to hang out with us, you guys are the best, and we can't appreciate. I can't thank you enough for it, and
Thank you
look
all.
forward to everyone tuning in next Friday night. Tommy Weil of the Chicago Bears. We're breaking down Bears Lions, baby. Mitchell Trubisky, quarterback 1.
10 God returns.
Get on board.
Peace.
Bear down.